How do you think Brodie Croft looked today?
Thought he looked like Brodie Croft, but in a better coloured jersey.
Leeds has won back-to-back Rugby League titles. The golden generation finally has its golden fleece. No England game, it seems, is complete without a Ryan Hall try. Jamie Peacock.
Kevin Sinfield.
Rob Burrow.
Jamie Jones Buchanan for Leeds. It's one of the most popular beards in rugby league.
There aren't many in Super League that can do that.
We just want to be a great friend, and if we can all try and be a bit of a better friend from time to time, I think we have a bit of a better place to live in.
The Lot Pod is kindly sponsored by Fast Signs. Fast Signs are an established family-run business who've been providing businesses around Leeds and West Yorkshire with effective signs and graphics for almost 30 years. Fast Signs are passionate about helping customers make a statement with signs that are eye-catching, effective and delivered fast. No, so what it was is he's had to go back to the doctors because of some returning hemorrhoids. So I think Reese is struggling a little with. Goodness me! Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Oh my God, we're live. I'll edit that out. Sorry, Reese. I mentioned your hemorrhoids, but completely by accident. Sorry, everybody. Really sorry. Very professional. Yeah. I forgot not to disclose why he's off and why he's being off. Hi everyone. Welcome to the Lot Pod, the Leeds Rhinos Lot 17A podcast, kindly sponsored by our friends at Fast Signs. Match review panel time. For this one, we're actually going to preview England versus Spain because that's way more positive, way better than everything Leeds Rhinos. You may have just briefly heard him there. Joining me for this one, it's Laurie. How are you?
No, mate, not bad at all. Not bad at all, thank you.
I feel like you haven't been on. From memory, I don't think you've been on since Castaway, which was round 3.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a long time.
For a while, no. I contributed to the
absolutely shocking. And I'm fairly adamant, everyone watching this, everyone live on YouTube, everyone watching it back, everyone listening on Spotify will agree with that. Because we were supposed to do this in the Lot Pod studio. So you were supposed to finally visit the Lot Pod studio, but unfortunately, I have COVID. So that has been completely written out. And we've gone old school, and we're back on StreamYard, and we're back live on YouTube. Should we just jump straight in, Loz? Match review panel.
Let's crack on. Let's
Warrington versus Leeds. We are live on YouTube, so please do leave a comment and react as we go along and discuss and review this terrible game. I've got a few positives, Loz. One of mine is the fact Jack Sinfield started. Thought that's a positive for Jack to come in. And also Ned McCormack coming in as well. Thought that was a positive. And then I also felt the final one was the fans that travelled over. Because anytime there's an away game and fans have made it over on a Thursday night or to Catalan or to anywhere, I always feel for them people. Whether we lose by 30 or by 1, I always feel for those people. Do you have any positives we can take from this one, Loz?
It was 50 that we had put past us. The thing was, it was a really strange game. And I was talking to somebody earlier about this. Like, it almost seemed to be in 20-minute spells where 20 minutes we were terrible, 10 minutes we were good, 10 minutes, then rubbish, then good. And it felt a mess, let's be honest. And it was a mess. But we just didn't, I don't know. There were so many things that I could point. I'm not going to get angry. That was saved for last night. But literally, it was such a poor performance. But the scoreline, when you look at it, if it was a neutral, you'd be like, why is he complaining? Oh, it's quite close. It wasn't. The scoreline did not reflect how poor we were.
It doesn't sound like you have any positives.
No, there was some good. Ned's try was great. I thought Big Sam had a good game. I also thought, who else had a good game? There was quite a few players that really didn't have great games. I thought Miller played well. He was running around a lot and creating, trouble. But there were so many mistakes, and I just thought, I don't. And also, that comment, by the way, that just popped up about SA Junior. I don't know if that. I don't think that was a positive in any way, shape, or form. But we'll come on to that, I think.
Our start was abysmal, absolutely abysmal, and I kind of felt like that set the tone rather early. That straight away, and it's so frustrating because I'm starting to feel now with this Leeds side this year, if we go 10 points behind, we're getting beat. I don't know if you agree with that.
No, 100%. Last night, as soon as they got that second try, my first reaction was, who is going to step up for us to claim back these points? I almost felt like, how are we going to get there? Like in previous years, you'd have gone, Leeds, yeah, they'll come back. Somebody will take control. Instantly, I was thinking, who's going to create this? Because I've not seen it we didn't see it against London very much. Who's going to take control of the game for us? And it took a while for it to happen. But yeah, it's not a good feeling when we've got a gap of 10 points. I instantly think
you're right, and it's not a good feeling when as soon as they went 12-0 up, my first thought was, right, we need to keep this scoreline kind of as low as possible. I had there wasn't a thought in my mind that we could win that game. From the second Warrington scored their second try, I thought, this is done. And another thing is, I'm poorly, or I feel better than I did yesterday. I'm not going to mention it again, don't worry. But I was on my phone, and I'm never usually like that. Like, if I'm watching sport, particularly if it's the Rhinos or United, I don't like to be on my phone. I like to, focus on the game. And I was on my phone last night because I thought that we aren't coming back. And when your first thought is, let's keep this score, the Warrington score, as low as possible, I think that's a bigger issue. I think the biggest issue, Loz, and I'll ask you in a moment, for me, from watching the London game where we won, which I agree, that's all that matters, from the London game and last night as we record this, two biggest issues for me, attitude and application. 100%. I think those are the two standout, highlighted, easy to spot issues with this Leeds Rhinos side. Chris has been banging the drum for all the whole year, and I'm sure people agree in the comments and people listening back and watching back with this. This squad isn't as bad as it's playing, but I think there's an attitude and application problem, Loz. How do you see it?
So there's a really good example of this, and it can be involved with two Leeds clubs. Leeds Rhinos women last week when they played, I was at the game last week. They were shouting to each other. There was vocal from left to right of the pitch. Every player was motivating it. When it comes to the game last Saturday, the game after, the men's.
The men's, yeah.
There was no vocal, nothing. And it almost seems when you watched it last night, because I hate watching it on TV, Rhinos, I'd much rather be there. But on TV, you could sense it last night. There was nobody taking control. There was nothing vocal. And it just feels like the attitude is very much like, we've conceded. What we're going to do. There's nobody going, come on, lads. We've got to get going. We've got to move forward. There's nothing. It doesn't seem like, and I feel harsh saying this because I love the guy, Cam just doesn't, for me, isn't that person who can lead from the front. And I think we're seeing that quite dramatically. And it's also affecting his gameplay, but we'll come on to that. But
we all know what Cameron Smith needs to do. Everybody knows it. Everybody on the planet knows it. Every Leeds fan knows it. So he just needs to focus on growing that mullet back, because then his form will return and he'll be the player that we all know he is. Someone in our comments, forgive me, I think it was Daniel McDermott, mentioned Sam Esse Jr. I think we'll start on him. Daniel McDermott said he thought he had a good game. Personally, I know he's a young lad. I think he's 19. And he's got the frame and he's got the size and he's a Leeds lad and we all want to see him do well, even though he's on loan. And I do think there's a player in there, Loz. Last night, not quite good enough.
No, I agree. He's a young lad, and forwards obviously don't get into their thing till a bit older.
Probably got a decade before he hits his peak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, till he hits the peak. He was a bit of a liability last night. I mean, for me, they hooked him off pretty quick, didn't it? First half. You've got to be sensible. If you're a starting forward, you've got to be sensible. He wasn't last night. He was making some silly mistakes. He was getting gobby and a bit verbal. I didn't know. If he wants a contract or if he wants to carry on, sign on for Leeds for longer, he can't have attitude. Or we can't. We've got to get that into him. He can't play like that. That's my personal.
Did you feel, because I think, did Cam get pulled up on giving back to the ref? Do you think
Yeah,
that's
he did. Yeah, he got beat like second half, I think.
Yeah, do you think that's potentially a squad issue rather than?
I think it is. I think the lack of. I think the discipline has gone. But then again, you could also link that to, like, without sounding harsh on Rowan Smith, the end of Rowan Smith's era. If you think it's crumbled a bit, it almost feels like what's being passed down has probably influenced what's gone on with the team. So probably the next week or two, you never know. Hopefully, fingers crossed, you might see a better structure of the team in terms of, attitude. Hopefully.
Duncan is obviously one of our regulars, says in our YouTube comments, our pack is terrible. That's where the game is won. Aledzki is carrying the pack. I think I once saw Aledzki in just in the car park of Kirkstall training ground. I think it was earlier this year. And what he did was in the car park, and he didn't know I could see him. Why would I want to stalk him? He laid down a massive sheet on the floor. It was absolutely enormous. It was about 20 foot by 20 foot. And he laid it down on the floor of the car park. And I'm thinking, what is he doing? And then he said, Sam, Tom, Justin, come on, Mikael. And they all stood in the middle of this sheet. And he folded all the corners. And he picked it up. He chucked them all on his back and said, come on, we're playing London today. And he carried them all down to Headingley. That's how I feel. Now, we've been saying this on this podcast since 2022. Certainly last year was. That Aledzki is the only consistent performer in this pack. Now, we've brought in, we touched on Sam Essay then, and he's a young player, and there's definitely a player in there. We've been kind of clamouring for little Tom Nicholson, what on this pod. But do you think Blasty, Ian Blease, would you be hoping that Ian Blease is doing something now for this year in terms of that pack to try and bring someone else in on loan? Or because, to be honest, I think we are in sheer dire straits with this pack that we have currently.
And it sounds awful to say this, and it's a simple thing, and it might have already been done in the training. It's very simple. I don't think Rowan Smith paid too much attention to our pack at all in terms of training during the week. I think it was almost an afterthought. I think it was almost a case of, lads, defend, let's create this defensive attitude. Yeah. Right. Let's have I know we're going very far back in time here. Look at 99 or 98. When we signed players from Keighley, and Graham Murray turned them into absolute beasts, right?
We did.
Yeah. You can turn players into beasts by attitude and correct, running forward, getting that game, getting a pack moving. We've got players who can do that. I'm even going to say Sangare could do that. Maybe not. But in terms of what we can do, we need somebody just to get this pack going. We've got Aledzki. Lasoni last night actually looked a beast when he came on. He just needs his game engine moving up a bit, as in like getting that fitness built up. We've got young lads who can come through and take that on. I'm not giving up faith in this pack, but we need somebody, a coach, who can go, right, come on, lads, let's get this sorted out, because you're as light as a bag of sugar. It's terrible. Come on.
I thought you were going to swear then.
No swearing on this podcast, if you remember.
We are going to come on to Brad Arthur later on. We're just going to continue with the actual wire game for those listening and those watching on YouTube. You mentioned Lachlan Miller earlier. What did you think of his performance? I thought he's got a decent try.
He played well, didn't he? The one thing is, it's like he's 80. I always think when in match days, he runs about 80% confidence, 20% madness. And occasionally those boundaries get crossed. But I know I've heard people criticising. I got some tweets yesterday on Lionsview going, and I'm like, yeah, but you've got to understand I think it's his 35th career game in rugby league.
That is mental, right?
Yeah, but you can send. I still say this because my dad's come to a couple of games with me recently, and he always goes, what's he playing at? What's he playing? I'm like, he's almost still getting the rugby union out of him. You can sense that. I can see by his body language, his shape, how he runs. He's very much a player who is learning our game still. Let's be honest.
He's still when they mentioned I think they mentioned it on Sky, many appearances he had, and I thought, wow, he's a novice.
Yeah, he is. And the thing is, though, people are expecting so much from him just because he's played NRL, and it's that NRL tag, and I think that's an issue. He's learning. I've got faith in him. I mean. Yeah, well, I just feel he just needs a bit more game time. Say this time next year, we could have he could be class. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. Brodie Croft, lovely kick to Fussy 2 on the third tackle. It seems a really easy tactic to do, Loz. Just kick it to the big bloke on the wing.
Yeah, but he's never there. He's never there. He's always on sick bend. You know, we never see it. I mean, I looked at him last night and thought, who's that running up? Oh, it's Big Dave, you know, Big Dave with his knee brace thing on, you know.
That worries me. The fact he's running around with all his knee taped up like
this
that.
Is it. I mean,
is a game away from going again, isn't he? I feel.
I'd not even that. I'd give him 10 minutes in a game. That's as soon as I see him do a run, I think, oh, is that him done? You know,
it seems, you know, I think it was third tackle, certainly early in set, no later than third tackle. Brodie gets it, decent ball, and a beauty kick. Now, you know, we've highlighted Brodie Croft all year, as we rightly have, particularly in the league game. But I think we need to see more of Brodie leading. I know Frawley did play well and got the Lot Pod. Don't know if he got the official, but he got the Lot Pod player of the match for the London game. But we do need to see more of this Brodie kicking, taking control, but at the same time being free to do what Brodie Croft does. Does that make any sense? No,
and I agree with you, but we never saw that under Smith because he wanted him to play almost like a loose forward.
Yeah.
Or a forward. And whenever you saw Croft with a ball, he'd be trying to take it in like a forward. And it was like, no, let him create. And I think, I know Chev Walker has said, yeah, we're playing like how we did with Rowan. But I don't want to see Croft play like he did with Rowan. I want to see him run. I want to see him create. You know, I want to see him cause chaos. And he can do that. We know he can. But we need to, I think, I'll tell you now, this next week is pivotal for us, for our season. Whatever happens down at Kirkstall is pivotal what's going to create for what's going to be for the next few weeks. Let's be honest, I think playoffs are slightly moved away now. I think it's going to take a miracle. But in the same context, who knows?
I think it's as simple as saying to Brodie, I've said this before, but you tell me how you want to play.
Yeah.
Because he's our star man. And essentially, you need to work around him. It's like having, I don't know, Lionel Messi. You know, you let Messi do what he needs to do and the team work around that, you know, whether four players have to work harder for the star man. And I feel that's the way it's got to be. You know, we've got to just unleash him to do what he needs to do, you know, up to a certain percent. And then I think we'll reap the rewards off the back of that. There's
a slight problem with that, though. Where does Cam come into that? Because Cam is the captain, but you're almost saying to Brodie, you lead the team. How is that going to work? Me personally, it sounds horrible. I'd say, Brodie, you're in charge. Cam, you focus on your game. I think that would probably work. But then again, you put pressure on Brodie.
Do you mean in terms of the captaincy?
Yeah.
Do you think... See, to me, the captaincy, and I kind of said it when Rowan stripped Cruz Leeming or said we are having a captain and said we're having like a captain's group. I feel I'm a bit on the fence with this, but part of me feels like sport, we're in a modern world in sport as well, where do you quote unquote need a captain? Can't we have multiple leaders? Do you feel if Brad Arthur, whoever the coach did say to Cam, right, you're no longer captain, only because we want you to work on yourself and your form, we're going to give it to Brodie. Do you think that'd hinder Cam, or do you think it's something that'd be like,
because
it'd be a weight off his shoulders?
Yeah, that's how you got to do it. And I think that's, sorry, Cam, it's sorry for swearing here. I do apologise. It's not a bollocking. It's almost saying, look, we need you to get back to how you are, because we've taken a captaincy, you've taken 10 steps back. Whereas if you say to him, look, we're taking it off you because we need you back to where you are, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's almost saying, look, we're thinking of you here. It's almost like we need you playing like how you have done for the last few years.
And also, what it would do is it'd give him slightly longer to grow his mullet back. And then I can say, right, the mullet's back.
Do you know what? I'm going to have to grow a mullet. I'm going to have to... No, let's not grow a ginger mullet. Nobody needs that.
Power's back, and there's the captaincy. I think... I don't know. I do kind of feel like the captaincy's not worth much these days. That's just my opinion. You know, I think the years of great captains like Farrell, Sculthorpe, Kev, I think they're long gone. I don't.
You need a voice.
Absolutely, you need leaders. But I feel it can be more
100% need
of
a
a
voice.
team leaders. With really poor discipline, not just for errors, not just for last night, but even the London game. Just appalling. Too many errors. How can the coach killers out? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
These errors. Can we improve it? We have to do it because the way the discipline and the attitude and the errors, we absolutely stink at the minute.
But a lot of that, God, I feel so harsh saying this about Rowan Smith. A lot is down to how we played under Rowan Smith. That dynamic rugby or defensive, how we played. What we need to go back to is, it sounds corny saying it's a simple rugby. Almost going back 4 or 5 years and just saying, look, lads, let's play normal, simple rugby. Let's play like what your position is designed to be. Not try and be, you can do this, dart around. Don't tell Harry Newman to go sprinting all the way through to the middle. Tell Harry to get the ball when he's not injured. Sprint down the sides. Look out for his winger. Because I'll tell you what, for the last couple of weeks, Hanley has had to become almost a centre and move into the pitch because he's not getting any ball to side. Or, we're not playing that. Yeah, we need to go. I think a lot of it is purely again, it's because we're making errors trying to beat all this dynamic rugby, that we're making these errors, making silly mistakes. Yes, there are defensive penalties we're giving away for offsides, stuff like that, which is terrible. But I think a lot of it is down to the past and what we're being trained, I think.
Do you still think there's some dregs of Rowan Smith left in this side?
100%.
Do you think all that we're going to come on to Brad Arthur shortly, but do you think all that'll be wrung out by Brad Arthur? Do you think he's seen enough? And then there's a lot of. Does it help that? Does it hinder that Chev and Griggs are still there and they worked under Rowan? Do you feel they've not changed enough in terms of the coaching and the setup?
It's a great question. I think the issue is, you've got Brad Arthur's got to be confident in himself to do this because he's been given the role by Blaze to get this done and he has to get it done. But he has to tell Griggs and Walker to say, look, I'm in charge. You're helping me. I'm going to do this.
You're coaching to my tune now.
Yeah, even if it's for 10 games, 11 games, whatever it is, you're going to be what I'm telling you to do. But again, this is it. We're creating levels now. Theory, could they have gone after when Smith went? Yeah, but who do we have had left coaching? Yeah. It's that thing, isn't it? It's the levels of what we've got in the club. But I don't know.
Jack Sinfield started. What were your thoughts when you saw the team sheet and Jack were playing? Because I felt Frawley was man of the match for London, and it didn't, to me, add up. I know that there's. I think it should have been the other way around. I think Jack should have played the London game and Matt should have played the Warrington game, but then Matt got man of the match in the London game, but he's dropped for the Wire game. I don't know. I love seeing Jack play. I think we all do. But I did feel from holding my hands up that Frawley should have played. How did you see it?
Yeah, I must admit, the London game, apart from a few... There were a couple of moments where I thought Frawley should have passed. There were a few moments like that. He actually had a good game, I thought. And when I saw him got dropped, I thought, that's harsh.
Yeah, I felt like
he's started to build a bit of form this last... Not form, but he's more confidence in himself. He's looked better with the ball in hand. He's looked for options. You can see that. And he's tried to create. But to drop him, I thought... Why? I don't get it. And Jack, I just felt put pressure on Jack.
That's the thing. And I felt a player that, I'm talking about Frawley here, a player that's low on confidence, has been dropped before by Rowan Smith. I think that's 19th time we've said Rowan Smith already. But he got dropped by Rowan Smith 20th time. And low on confidence. And I think that's his first man of the match for the Rhinos this year. And I felt, like you said there, he might get some form off the back of it. Might be feeling good, right? I've got man of the match and going into Wire, and then he gets dropped. I don't know. But then the flip side of that, I'm going to contradict myself, which I always do, is I love seeing Jack play as well. But I just felt
it looked a bit. Yeah, to be fair to Jack last night, I think he took a lot of pressure on board last night. I think there was a lot of pressure on him, and you could sense that because from a TV perspective, he looked like there were a couple of mistakes he made, and I just feel like. I don't know. I thought it was almost chucking him into the deep end last night. And you're right. He should have played London. And yeah, but
I think so.
Yeah. It's difficult.
Anyway, we're talking hindsight, don't we?
Yeah.
Anything else to say on the game before I move on to Brad Arthur?
Couple of things.
Go for it.
The tackle that Big Dave caught a ball in the in-goal area and got his knees hit out underneath him, which should have been a penalty, was given as a dropout.
Yep.
How? Can anybody explain that? I watched it, went, And you can see every Leeds fan pointing, going, no. Yeah, not given. And also, 2 phantom conversions, which appeared to go over on TV, didn't get given. The second one was very suspect. I was like,
I was just pissing myself at those 2 conversions. I just thought, because when you're miles behind, when you're miles behind, I was laughing. But then I was laughing at the fact that they weren't given. I was laughing at the fact we were getting beat. And I was laughing at the fact that, imagine if that were to level the score or...
Oh, yeah, you'd be fuming.
I just think, oh, God, the whole thing. I just thought, if I don't laugh, I'll cry. So I was just...
We'd have lost anyway. We wouldn't deserve the victory.
Well, that's the thing. But then you look at how competent the in-goal touches are then. Touch judges, don't you think? But I know TV angles and camera angles can be deceiving, but I did think...
That's what I thought. There might have been a bit of deception there, but they did look as though they'd gone through both of them.
But it'd be nice to see if any Leeds fans or Wire fans, whatever, if they're going to be honest, behind there what they thought. But anything else before we put that to bed?
No, can we just go? Yeah,
we'll leave that. Brad Arthur came in. What were your initial thoughts when it was announced, Loz? But more importantly, it is an interim, so it's just, as you mentioned earlier, it is just for the rest of the season. So what were your thoughts not only on Arthur coming in, but the fact it's just for the rest of the year?
I'll try to keep this short. So I'm a Manly fan, and Brad obviously was at was at Para, and obviously the rivalry, but you've got to look at, without sounding harsh, his win ratio is not very good. Yes, he had a good...
He was there a long time though, wasn't he?
Yeah. And there was a big run of form, like 2000, etc. Then COVID, blah blah blah. But his style of rugby is interesting. He doesn't. It might go back to almost Brian McDermott days of not using the full bench. He did that quite a few times at Parramatta.
Yeah, he did.
So that could be interesting. I'm intrigued. I mean, like I say, at this moment in time, it's only 10 games. It's almost like we've got something to cover. It's like a primary school teacher's been phoned in sick. We've got to cover in. It's like that
coming in.
Yeah, that's it. But I mean, he dropped hints yesterday that it might be longer, and you're just like, right. I know what the purpose is. It's to cover the rest of the season, try and get us into playoffs. It's not grade area. It's not like it's going to be a surprise if it goes. It's simple. It's just, I'm intrigued of I know I've seen some people messaging me going, oh yeah, but how's this going to affect the signings for next year? Is he going to decide? No, that's different altogether. I'm not sure it's a good move. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Ask me in 2 months.
Ask you when we won the final.
Yeah.
I felt it was a tough night for him. I understand why he was there, and understand why the club wanted him there, and to introduce him to the team as quickly as possible. But the club and Blaster did say that it's Chev Walker's / Simon Grix's job to coach the side, but then Brad Arthur was there, sat next to Chev, and then at half-time he was down pitch side, and I felt it was a tough night for him because not only to watch that dire performance, but it must have been tough for him not to be involved. I was kind of putting myself in Brad Arthur's shoes, and I felt it would have been a bit awkward. I bet he were dying to say something, good or bad, or to try and change something.
I'd have just had him in the box. Say, go watch it somewhere in the ground. Don't be
I agree.
With cameras on you, because that's added pressure on him. It's not fair. Because let's be honest, he's not had any time to coach. He probably didn't even know Chev Walker's name probably till about 10 minutes before.
Till they got on the bus.
No, maybe not. But I
agree with that.
It's that thing of it's that thing.
It was fine him being there.
It was a bit harsh.
It was fine him being there, but I agree with you. talked to Sky before. Hello, I'm Brad Arthur, blah, 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 which I thought he spoke really well. But sit in the director's box or something. I don't know. It just felt a bit awkward, the fact that he was there but couldn't have any say on the game. Perhaps he did. Perhaps he were.
Yeah.
We don't know, but I really felt for him. So are you expecting much for the KR game, Loz, in terms of he's going to have a week or so, 5-6 days to meet the team, to coach them and try and put his side of things across? Are you expecting much change for the KR game?
It'll be interesting to see. I think it's one of those where you'd expect a basic level of difference. I know that sounds a bit weird to say. Maybe a bit of structure in the game, like maybe telling the forwards to 3 or 4 drives in, try to be creative, get your halfbacks on the third side, that sort of mentality. I think there's got to be some level of the players knowing he's in charge. There has to be that thing of he's in charge, we're getting this done, he's our boss, that's it. We're forgetting everything about what we've just had to go through. I know it makes it sound like some sort of trauma, but some sort of thing that's happened for the last, 18 months. We are literally going out there. We've got a coach for 10 games. He's our boss. Okay. It's that understanding of he's got to make sure he's known as well. I know that sounds a bit weird, but he can't treat it as a holiday. He has to know that this is his job for 3 months. It's the weirdest job he'll probably ever take, but it's a job that he knows he's got to be sensible in. So I just feel it's a really weird position. But how are we going to judge him? What are we judging? Say like 10 games. If he wins 5, is that all right? If he loses 8, what a waste of time. What are we judging it? How are we judging it? Are we judging it on if we get into the playoffs, it's a success?
Yes.
What? Yeah, that's it. It is.
That's what I'd say. It'd be interesting to see what the people in our YouTube live chat think. What would be a success?
Level of success, yeah.
For Brad Arthur? I think playoffs. If he gets us, which I think he'll do, if he gets us to the playoffs, I would say, because you look at this season that we've had, lots of Leeds fans would say, "Oh, we're nowhere near the playoffs." So if he were to get us in there, I'd say that would be a success. But let us know in the live chat, and we'll kind of react as we go along. I think the best way Brad Arthur could put his mark on the team early is team selection. And I know he's only watched the Wire game, and he's going to have a week, or just over a week, or whatever, a couple of days to choose. But I think the team selection can speak a lot. Speak a lot in terms of how he's feeling. He might drop someone, he might bring someone back in, he might ask someone to play in a different position. But the first thing he has to change is, like I said initially at the start of the pod for the Wire game, attitude. I felt watching them last night. These players and the London game, they're very fragile. They need motivation. They need a kick up the arse. I'm not quite sure, but Brad Arthur's only got 10, 11 games to find out and unlock this side. Well, I'm kind of making it out like we're close to relegation and it's the worst thing ever, but this team just needs something. And I don't think it's much, to be honest. Because
The issue that I've got is, and it's slightly going back to your first point about, making changes. We don't have a massive squad. Let's be brutally honest here. Like, in terms of what we've got available, in terms of players, in terms of people with injuries, he hasn't got a great deal to work with. It's almost like what we have is what we have. And it's going to take a lot of skill to get that team into something that's molded into something that can be playoffs. I'm not sure that's a possibility. I think, no, generally, I don't mean that to sound harsh, but it's going to take a lot because you think about it. We've got to get to 6. Now, there is a bit of a gap, but you look at our fixtures coming up. God, I'm really positive tonight. But do you know what I mean? It's that positive. You've got to get in the players' minds. They have to get into that top 6. We can't just accept it. But he's only got a small talent pool, what he can use. I'm intrigued because, let's be also honest, we've got a lot of people in our squad who are biscuit bones at the minute, and a lot of injuries. It's going to take a lot to do this. And, if we had a full-strength squad and the players who have been hitting form, I'd be like, fair play, go ahead. This is going to be some mission, this.
Yeah, I agree. And I think everybody, one thing that I can confidently say, and I'm quite adamant to say now, is everybody's on board with Brad Arthur now. After watching the London game and the Warrington game, anyone that had any kind of doubts of being like, well, it's only for the rest of the year, I think everyone is like, Jesus Christ.
Get it on. Get it on. Get your satchel ready. You're in school on
We
Monday
need
morning.
this right now. We need someone to inject some life, and you don't get better in Super League than Brad Arthur. He's got a big job on his hands, and
He has.
I do think he will get us into those playoffs. Onto the player ratings for the Warrington game. The player ratings, for those of you who are new to us, if you don't understand how we do this, Statman Reese is our resident statman, and fantastic statman he is. That's why we never do the stats in Reese's absence, because we just cannot do them justice. Player ratings, Statman Reese, X's puts out a message on X with a player ratings form. So it's a very simple form. Each player, you rate them 1 to 10 for every single match review. We're going to collate them over the year, and we're going to spew them out at the end in the season awards. So here are the player ratings for the Warrington game. You can react in the YouTube live chat, and Laurie, you can react as we go along. Lackey Miller, 5.6. Reckon that, Laws?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, possibly a bit higher, but only just a bit higher. Say about
Slightly
6 or 7 for me.
Fussy 2 or 4.9. I thought it was a little bit better.
Yeah,
than
I
that.
agree. I agree with
Really?
that. Yeah, I don't think he did a
I'd give
lot.
him-
Well, apart from
I'd
that
give him-
try. Yeah,
That's true. Momorowski, 5.3.
he was quiet, yes. Well, he was quiet. But I know he scored a try, but he was pretty quiet, wasn't
I think that's about right. Ned McCormack, 5.9. By the way, I was absolutely devastated they went off injured.
he? Yeah. Fair play to
I
scoring a
was
try after he did his
gutted.
hamstring. Yeah.
Gutted that he went off injured. Hope it's something you can come back rather quickly, Ned, because you had a chance in this side. That was a gap in the market for you there. Ash Hanley, 5.5. I reckon that's, again, we don't have Reece here, but
Oh, did he? I mean,
yeah, I reckon that's his lowest score of the year.
Yeah,
He's been really consistent in the sixes for us. Talking of sixes, Brodie Croft, 6.3. What do you reckon to that?
Yeah, I'd agree.
Right. Jack Sinfield, 4.8.
Again, I agree, because to me,
Poor Jack.
It took a lot on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And he
That's
didn't perform. Without saying actually didn't perform.
Still higher than a Matt Frawley score, that Jack, so he got that going for you. Michaletsky, 5.8. Jared O'Connor, 5.9. Sam Essay, 4.1.
I think that's high.
James McDonald, 5.4. Reece Martin, 5.2. That's definitely the lowest score Reece Martin has ever had.
Well, if you looked at his performance yesterday, though, he didn't do a lot. Well, no, he took balling, but he didn't
missed 2 kicks as well.
Yeah, he's kicking. Yeah, he missed all those kicks.
We're only joking, Reece. Cameron Smith. This is the lowest score.
Can I guess it?
It's the lowest score for the whole squad. What do you reckon?
Really? Okay, 3.8.
3.
Yeah, but again, it didn't do anything.
And again, I'm going to confidently say that's Cam's lowest ever score on this platform in these player ratings. Get the mullet back, Cam. I keep saying it. Get the mullet back. Might need a badge. Grow back the mullet. Mullet is king.
The silhouette.
Andy Ackers, 5.3. Sam Lasoni, 6.2. Mikhail Gudemond, 4.7. Alfie Edgel, 5. Chev Walker, 4.2. So according to the player ratings submitted by our listeners, by our followers, by our subscribers, Loz, their man of the match was Brodie Croft with 6.3. But who is your vote for Fast Signs player of the match, Loz?
I'm going to be... Do you know what? I think he's second in that poll by the looks of it. Lasone. I thought he made an impact every time he got the ball. I mean, he made more impact. He was the only Rhinos player to make an impact when he had the ball in hand.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Croft's kick were beautiful, but I thought Sam Lasoni was one of our standout performers. Yeah. So the official Fast Signs player of the match is Sam Lasoni. Anything else before we finish this up and wrap this up, Loz?
It's fun, isn't it? Do you know, weirdly, I've actually had more fun this season, even though we're terrible, than I've done for quite a while. It's brilliant. I don't understand. I love it when Leeds are terrible. It's brilliant.
Gallows humour. Things will get better.
Yeah.
Things will get better. We've got Brad Arthur here now, and I'm fairly adamant Blaster is working on at least one more signing to bring in the forwards to.
We'll be right, don't worry.
For this year. Thanks to Laurie. Thanks to everybody in our YouTube comments. Thanks to everyone that completed the player ratings form. We are recording live on YouTube now. If you don't subscribe to our YouTube channel, why not? We're fab. You know how good we are. Please do subscribe to us as we crawl our way to 1,000 subscribers. And tell your friends and family all about us as well, and tell them to subscribe, and also make loads of burner accounts and have them subscribe to us as well. Any subscription is fine.
Subscribe.
If you're listening on Spotify and iTunes, please also leave us a review or 5-star if you think we're worth it. We are. It just boosts us up those podcast charts and makes the podcast more visible on Spotify and iTunes. So thank you to everybody that's recently done that for us. And if you do enjoy what me, Chris, Laurie, Reese, all of our regulars do on this podcast, on this platform, please also do consider subscribing to our Patreon page. All of our content will always be free and available to watch for everyone. That is a Lot Pod promise forever. But if you do want to support us and throw us £1, £3, £5 a month, a one-off donation, it all goes to all of our equipment at the studio, which is a visible sign of all the money going into something in that Lot Pod studio. Then please do subscribe to our Patreon. The details will be in the top pinned comment on YouTube, and they're also available on the Lot Pod X account. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back with a midweek roundup with Statman Reese, who, by the way, is on a stag do. So it'll be interesting to report in. It's not. Oh, it's Piles. Oh, my God. You mentioned it again. We'll be back with that midweek roundup. And, of course, we'll be back with the match review panel for the Hull KR game. Take care, everyone. We'll see you then.